Well, good morning, my friends. And first off, check out that thumbnail. Live and shit. Live and shit. Check out that thumbnail. Tell you what, I'm getting crafty in my old age. Now, actually, True Crime Beat made it. Y'all know the difference between my thumbnails and when True Crime Beat or Cat make them. But anyway, big pat on the back to our girl True Crime Beat. Cheryl Adams, good morning. She said, I'm not missing this for nothing. Is it just me? Whose freaking face fell off yesterday when they said a plea was offered to Bushy? You gotta be kidding me. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. This is crazy. Hang on, for some reason, I'm not getting my notifications. What going on around here? V Slims is a YouTube member again. Uh-oh, Shonda read my mind. Brooks, what the actual fuck? That's what I'm talking about. This is nuts. All this time, 2 years and 7 months? What are all the fangirls doing about their little incel boyfriend right now? What are they doing? All the love letters and all these things are missing and there's not enough evidence. And just because he was outside the house, and even after the Dateline spill, which made the trial get delayed by a week. Why a week? I don't know what would matter because that was a lot of info. Even with all that, they still stuck by their Bushy boyfriend. I almost wonder if it's not a money problem. Because we have to admit that because of Lori Vallow and her crazy ass, and Chad Daybell and his crazy ass, they have spent a pretty penny in Idaho trying those two nutbags. They really have. Is it a money thing? I've often wondered with the Lori Vallow thing, like about Michael Vaughn, maybe that's the reason the DA has not pressed charges against the 4 freaks in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. He could be like, look, if they want a speedy trial, I ain't got no moolah. We've all been spinning on Lori Vallow. But I can say this, after everything I saw yesterday, I wouldn't want to be this guy today. I wouldn't want to be Bill Thompson today. Because the families, I'm not speaking for Ethan's family because they haven't said anything, but the families of Kaylee, Xana, and Maddie are pissed. They are pissed, man. They are absolutely pissed. Woo! Woo! Here's the headline going everywhere. Hell, it was on my local news this morning. These people can't get the weather right in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but they're talking about Brian Kohberger. Woo, baby. All right, we know the drill. It is Taco Tuesday, and we're going to tell all our friends hi. How you doing? Glad you're here. Love you much. Hola, howdy. In all honesty, I'm mad for him. I really am. Is there a bright side to this, considering how upset the families are? I can see a bright side for Brian Kohberger's family, especially his sister, because I've often wondered if she wasn't the one that turned him in. She knows her brother's off his damn rocker. She knows he's a freak of nature. He's an incel. She knows he's 10 miles from where the murders happen. She knows he drives a white Hyundai. Dylan and Bethany won't have to testify. There's no appeals that can happen. 4 life consecutive sentences. The Goncalves family wanted the chance to hear everything that the state of Idaho has against Bushy. Okay, that's what they wanted. They wanted a jury of their peers in Idaho to make the decision, as opposed to Billy Boy. Okay? They did not want that. This is Xana's family. TMZ reported. Xana Kernodle's family furious, says they were never consulted, will fight the Koberger plea. They're hoping that the judge doesn't accept it since they weren't duly notified. Goncalves family, it's true. They said, we are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They failed us. Please give us some time. This was very unexpected. We appreciate all your love and support. Well, one person I absolutely agree with is News Daddy. I think this says it all. He says, my personal feeling is from the beginning, Idaho has not wanted to deal with this case. From the University of Idaho taking ownership of the house and tearing it down against the family's wishes. Okay, he doesn't have that in there. That's my ad lib. Hang on. To the initial judge passing the case on, to the gag order and constant annoyance with any attention the case gets. I think a lot of it might have something to do with that damn university. We've talked about it, well, for 2 years and 7 months. Well, let's rewind a little bit and maybe look at how heinous this case really is. This is from ABC News. Obviously not my content because I don't get content like this, okay? I get drunk people that grab the link and come up and call me all kinds of names. That's my content. Speaking of, the link is pinned, and I want to know what everyone's thinking.
To call for help.
911 location of your emergency.
Something is happening.
Chilling new audio obtained by ABC News of a surviving roommate calling 911 nearly 8 hours after 4 students were stabbed to death in this home near the University of Idaho.
Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
One of 2 surviving roommates is on the line, standing in the driveway, terrified and sobbing as she passes the phone to a neighbor who just arrived.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night, and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night.
The roommate is then heard again pleading with the dispatcher.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
I know people get irritated with this dispatcher. She's getting emergency personnel there. She needs to know what's going on right now. She needs to tell them what they need to be prepared for when they get there. Okay? She needs to tell them what they need to be prepared for when they get there. I mean, in her mind, she's probably thinking these girls had some damn fight at like 4 a.m. She's like, yeah, they don't need to know that. What is going on right now? That's always been the confusion with the 911 call. Passed out. Passed out. Passed out. Now I go back to several years ago. Wish I still had the clip. It's got to be around here somewhere in my old handy dandy computer. When Bill Thompson, who a lot of people are pissed at today, He said there may not have been a specific target inside the house, as in these beautiful, beautiful people. He said the house itself could have been the target. But Hale Bushy wanted to be infamous, and now he is. He's in the books, as Diana said to me this morning. He's in the books. He will be studied by the FBI for years. People that take forensics science, behavioral forensic science, will study him. Now, he went from he wants to be exonerated to taking a plea. Well, hello, Fun Size Girl, where you been? Fun Size, I missed you. About to start sending the U.S. Marshals for some of you. Put a bell around your neck like I have for OJ. Glad you're back, Fun Size. Hold on. So what happened has anyone else been arrested he's going to be exonerated to taking a plea agreement? No appeals, no death penalty. Everything is sealed, and 4 consecutive life sentences. That's a far cry from exonerated. That's a far cry from exonerated. But we're here for it. We're here for it. The only way this plea is not going to happen is if the families protest enough via media and the judge decides not to let him plead. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, but we gotta go check. But we have to.
You can hear the young woman coaxing her roommate back into that house, and they make their way inside.
Is it Pascal? What's wrong? She's not waking up.
You can hear the anguish. For the last 2 years, the murder of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin have gripped the nation. And the lawyers for the alleged killer, Brian Kohberger, say he is innocent. The former PhD student was arrested weeks after the
Hold on, I'm going to check some comments. Remember, the link is pinned. We're all friends here. Real Rockin' Robin said, do you think prison justice will follow? I'm wondering if that's not part of the plea deal to make sure he is ultimately protected, since he's so infamous and high profile. But I wouldn't have a problem with him getting a good old Adam Montgomery swirly. If you know, you know. And our friend Fun Size, you all? Fun Size says she has missed us too. She's been exhausted. She's had chemotherapy. And on June 7th of this year, she officially kicked breast cancer's ass. Can we please have an amen and a round of applause for Fun Size? You know what I think? I think he pulled all the strings he could, got all the attention he could, and wanted to go down like some of his heroes, and waited till they had just chased their own tail all this time, and then got a hold of Ann Taylor and said, I think I'm just going to plead guilty. And tomorrow is a change of plea hearing. And the date of him changing his plea is no coincidence, because it's the same day BTK did it many years ago. And we know that's his buddy, he thinks.
the murders.
The defense has tried to cast doubt on one of the surviving roommates' credibility.
Today, the family of victim Kaylee Gonzalez defending the survivors in a statement saying that every breath, every cry, every tremor in the voice reveals a reality so cruel, so brutally honest, it cuts deeper than anything fiction could devise. Please do not waste your energy pointing fingers at those who could not have prevented it. Over the last few weeks, more evidence has been released, helping paint a picture of what happened that November night in 2022.
We're getting a different glimpse at evidence like DNA on their fingernails, text messages and phone calls, timelines that we never heard or saw before. The dots are beginning to connect.
Transcripts showing time-stamped text messages between the two survivors after one told authorities she saw a man clad in black in the home the night of the murders. The filing reveals she tried unsuccessfully to reach the victims. Between 4:22 and 4:24 a.m., the surviving roommates text each other, "I'm freaking out right now." No, it's like a ski mask almost. The survivor on the first floor texting back, "Run down here." It's unclear what happened next, but about 6 hours later, one of the survivors tries again but can't reach the victim's phone by text. Texting Kaylee, "Please answer." Texting Madison, "Are you up?" And just before noon, more than 7 hours after the murders, that 911 call is made.
In creating those kind of points of when communications occurred and when a time of death had occurred, prosecutors are able to drive home the fact that there was an opportunity and a time that these murders could have occurred and directly point at Bryan Kohberger as being the individual based on his location, based on his cell phone when he traveled from one location to another, and that period when no one could track him.
Bryan
Absolutely. And if you followed the BTK case, BTK killer case, however you want to say it, almost sound like I said KKK case, BTK. Anyway, when he got to, or he pled guilty and he stood in front of everybody, he detailed with such a grim demeanor what he did to all his victims. Do you think that's what Brian's going to do tomorrow? Do you think with his smug ass, he's going to stand there in front of all those families and the press and the judge and everyone and tell them in detail what he did and why he did it? It's going to be something to see. Unless the judge says, "Done, over, I'm not taking the plea. The family wants the jury to decide." I don't know that they have that right. He's the one that has, he's the one innocent till proven guilty. And if he wants to say he's guilty, they can't take that from him. I want to know, are the families going to get to confront him with their impact statements? There's a lot I want to know. There's a lot I want to know. Butterfly Kisses, you are awesome. Member for 27 months. If you are not a member, you grab that. Let me tell you what, you guys will love our members' lives.
Kohberger's attorneys don't want the exchanges admitted during trial.
The defense is making the argument that this is hearsay, an out-of-court statement said for the truth of the matter asserted. But the prosecution is arguing the text messages, the phone calls. It's not meant to prove the contents of those messages, but to show a timeline, to show how people were reacting and how this murder occurred throughout the time frame that they're arguing.
Kohberger had been working on his PhD in criminology at Washington State University, about 8 miles across state lines from the University of Idaho, where Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan were just starting their futures.
They were all friends and had shared a life together in college and were looking forward to going on and hopefully doing great things, whether it was together or apart. And all of that came to a sudden halt.
The horrific scene unfolding the night of November 12th, 2022. Kaylee and Maddie, newly 21 and lifelong best friends, went to a popular campus bar around 10 p.m. They're later seen at the grub truck, laughing and ordering food. And this video appears to be the last time they were seen alive before turning in for the night. Authorities say their roommate, Xana, and her boyfriend, Ethan, both 20, were at a fraternity party earlier that same night, arriving home around 1:45 a.m. There's 3 stories to the house. Kaylee and Maddie were together in Maddie's room on the 3rd floor. Kaylee's dog Murphy was alone in Kaylee's bedroom just down the hall. Ethan was staying over that night in Xana's room, which was on the 2nd floor. One of the other roommates in the house also on the 2nd floor, and one in a bedroom on the 1st floor.
Everything was so normal in that home on King Road. Nobody could have imagined it was about to become a house of horror.
Police responding to a 911 call just before noon, hours after law enforcement say the murders happened.
When the lead sergeant goes into the house, he later told people how the high smell of blood rose up in his nostrils, and it took him back.
This is a brutal crime.
Something out of a damn horror movie. Something out of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I love how Dave came in like the Kool-Aid man and said, how many pro burgers do we have today? You know what's funny? Is in some of these Facebook groups, I just have to read the comments. I just do. I'm always like, come on, gang, let's go to the comments. I got to see what people are saying. Woo! They still say they don't believe it. There's not enough evidence. Damn. Even though Steve Goncalves, who has seen a lot of the evidence, said months ago, they got the guy. It's all going to come out in trial.
These victims were not shot. They were stabbed to death.
What was baffling to police, they say, is that it didn't appear that there was any forced entry. It doesn't appear that any of the victims had been sexually assaulted.
And weeks later, Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania.
Last night, detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohberger.
Since his arrest, prosecutors have maintained that surveillance footage, cell phone records, and DNA evidence link Kohberger to the murders. And the linchpin is Kohberger's DNA.
We're not just talking about his DNA happened to be found in, a dresser drawer or something. It was found on a knife sheath where 4 people were killed by a knife. This is as crime scene as it gets.
But Kohberger's attorneys have tried to have that crucial DNA evidence dismissed, claiming it was unlawfully obtained using public genealogy websites.
If you can upload one of these profiles for $12 and find out all kinds of information, how is that not a Fourth Amendment issue? That was done twice without a warrant in this case.
Kohberger's attorneys also argued that authorities violated the law when they used a garbage collector to retrieve trash from the Kohberger family home. It's in a gated neighborhood in Pennsylvania. And according to his lawyers, they did it without a warrant. The FBI allegedly using the garbage to make that DNA match.
I think it is different when you have the FBI telling the trash man what to do.
But prosecutors have argued all facets of the investigation, including the DNA and the use of public genealogy databases, were done properly.
The individuals who were utilizing
All right. This is where our girl Pat K comes in. Public genealogy databases. That's where our girl Pat K came in. We had a show about this several years ago. And I'm like, how's that going to solve anything? It could be someone's uncle. It could, geez. Then Pat came up and she explained it. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. And it can't even be used in court. Thank you. I probably need to put a poll up because I want to know what you guys think. Do you think he's going to give a full confession in front of that courtroom tomorrow? Because I don't know.
These databases, and we're talking about millions of them, are willingly sharing their information with each other. The issue is that no one sharing this information with millions of other people could have a reasonable expectation of privacy.
And the judge siding with the state, allowing the DNA evidence to be presented to the jury. Kohberger's jury trial is slated to begin in August, and the 2 surviving roommates are expected to testify. His defense team attempting to strike down the death penalty on the basis of his autism spectrum disorder. For the family and the loved ones of the victims, the years-long nightmare continues as they just hold on to their memories.
Kaylee is like the definition of sunshine.
To know Kaylee was to love Kaylee.
Kaylee and Maddie had been best friends since 6th grade.
They did absolutely everything together. First dates, first boyfriends, graduated high school. They had their first heartbreaks together. Kaylee was 12, 13 years old. They're blasting Taylor Swift in the basement, comforting each other.
If I had one or two words to describe Maddie Mae, it would be just an angel. She just made me proud.
Xana was in the same sorority as Maddie. She was dating Ethan, a freshman, and also a triplet.
My first impression of Ethan was he's just this huge dude that you wouldn't really approach, but as soon as you really got to know him, you realize that he's like one big teddy bear.
This case has been so fraught for so long now, for this small community and for a nation that has watched getting whoever was responsible for these killings, getting them brought to justice in whatever way the jury decides. That's what we're going to start to see this coming August.
Our thing. So you thought this coming August? Might as well go ahead and take your vacation, because there's not going to be a trial unless something crazy happens today. And they threw everything at the kitchen wall to see if it would stick. Autism? Autism? What the hell does that have to do with anything? Since when is someone who is autistic a homicidal maniac? Since when is somebody that is autistic a serial killer? And yes, he is. He killed 4 people in that house gruesomely. Gruesomely. It is insane. Again, the only bright side I can see is that all of the friends that have been affected by this, Dylan and Bethany, none of these people will have to testify now. Koberger's sister, who I think called in a tip. I really think she did. I really think she did. No appeals. No appeals. That's the only bright side I can think of. I kind of wanted to see old Sissy get up there and let her brother have it. Kind of like when Letitia Stout's brother got up there and let Letitia have it up there on the stand. Talk about somebody that should have just pled guilty and gotten the hell out of Dodge. That was her.
Case, the trial date is now set. This morning, close friends of the victims are telling their story for the first time on GMA. Kana Whitwer sat down with them. Good morning, Kana.
Yeah, George, good morning to you. Hunter Johnson and Emily Allant were 2 of the first people to arrive at the King Road house that November morning. These are the friends who prompted the 911 call. Their actions described by other families as heroic. But for them, it was a morning that changed everything. And they're speaking out for the first time about what they want people to remember about their friends. It's not just about how they died, but about how they lived.
You know, you see the world in pure innocence, and that all gets ripped away from you in one phone call. That's just the day that changed it all.
This morning, for the first time, the best friends of Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle speaking out about that November day when they discovered Ethan, Xana, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Madison Mogen brutally murdered in an off-campus home.
I don't think anyone expects anything like that ever in their life to happen.
Hunter Johnson and his girlfriend Emily Allant now telling their story in a new Prime Video docuseries, One Night in Idaho, The College Murders.
We were a big group of friends. Why would you target those 4?
Emily says she and Xana were inseparable.
We were attached at the hip probably the first day that we met. Yeah, we just clicked immediately. We were same personalities, I feel like.
I love it when people talk about Ethan and Xana sort of being like male and female versions of each other.
Oh, it's very much true. They were the same person.
Hunter and Emily say the fall weekend started like any other with a big football game. The friends snapping this photo that Saturday.
It was a normal weekend for us, just hanging out with our friends.
The next morning, Emily says Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, called her concerned, asking her and Hunter to come over. In the documentary, you tell the story of really not feeling alarmed when Dylan called you.
Okay, hate to bring this up, but I know it's on some people's minds. I can't say that it's on mine. Anyone offended by the sweet moolah, the money that this case has generated? There's a movie on Amazon Prime. We know gads of money has been sent to the victims' families in order for them to take off for 4 months to be there for the trial. And sometimes things like that kind of leave a bad taste in people's mouths. Me, I don't sweat it. Hang on, I gotta let my Wi-Fi catch up. Well, as long as you guys can still hear me.
I joked around with her on the phone. You know, it's something you would never expect.
It's November, so I had shorts on, slides on. Like, I wasn't prepared to obviously stay there. I was just going over to check, see what's going on. I would say as soon as you get there, you know something's wrong.
Hunter was the first person to arrive to King Road to discover what happened. Their friend Josie Louderin, who was also there, describing the moments in the docuseries.
As soon as I stepped in the house, I was like, oh, something is so not right. Like, you could feel it almost. Hunter was ahead of me and Emily and immediately was pushed out. And Hunter was like, get out, somebody call 911.
You hear Hunter on the 911 call telling the girls there was an unconscious person protecting them from the graphic details.
Is she breathing? No.
How did you remain so calm in that moment?
Truly, in my heart, I believe God was with me that day, and he gave me the strength to get through that day.
As authorities entered the home, the friends say they were told to sit outside, waiting for hours with little information.
We watched the ambulance come and we watched them immediately leave. So I think that was a hard part for sure.
That second you realize there's no one to be saved.
Right.
Their best friends inexplicably murdered. Not knowing who was responsible or why, they feared for their own safety.
We just left to get away, be safe.
Yeah.
Is our
You didn't
mindset.
feel safe?
No.
In the nearly 7 weeks it took police to arrest a suspect, Emily, Hunter, and surviving roommates Dylan and Bethany became the targets of online sleuths.
Oh, yeah. After the Daily Mail put their names out, I was like, how the hell did they not know something was going on? Then the probable cause comes out and says Dylan saw him. And I was like, what? This makes no sense. This makes no sense. Then Steve Goncalves, who listens to all of these shows, I can't say that he listens to mine, even though somehow we became friends on Facebook. He said, don't even think that anyone could have done anything to prevent this, or any faster action could have delayed death. Now, he obviously knows more than me, way more about his daughter's case. I still think if somebody had called 911 at 4 a.m, something would be different. But either way, Dylan and Bethany were in the house, and they are always, always, always going to have to live with this. Now, don't forget, Bethany supposedly had information that the defense wanted her to testify with. They even hauled their asses down to Nevada to speak with her because they said what she had to say would, here's the word again, exonerate Brian. Okay. We go from exonerate to autistic to we're pleading guilty. Make it make sense after all this time. I really think that when he took that class over in Pennsylvania, I think he really started studying BTK and thought, I'll show him. Remember when he was writing letters to him and BTK was like, Kohlberger, no, I don't speak with him. And I'm like, holy shit. Could you imagine BTK saying he's got better shit to do all day than talk to you? What the hell has he got to do? He's got his 30 minutes of sunshine, maybe, and he's kind of like snobby about it. On Kohlberger, no.
And social media attacks.
Lots of threats, people saying I should confess to murdering them. I felt like I was less than a person in that point in my life.
On December 30th, 2022, police arrested then 28-year-old Brian Kohlberger. To Emily and Hunter, he was a complete stranger. Their murder trial set to begin in August. His attorneys say he's innocent.
Does justice lie in a conviction? I don't think there's going to ever be any justice.
I mean, yeah, we can have justice for the conviction of it, but I don't get to still hang out with Ethan. So
They still don't get to.
they don't
Be
have a
with their
son. They don't
child.
have a daughter anymore.
They say they hope people remember who their friends were beyond the headlines.
Who they are as people is so much more than the Idaho 4, and they shouldn't be known as the Idaho 4, and they shouldn't be attached to, you know, the name of who did that to them. And I just think that, you know, hopefully one day that they're just seen as who they are and not what happened to them.
I agree with her. I've never liked Idaho 4. I'm like, just, you know, say their names, even if you just use initials. Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana. You know, I just really wish somebody would have sat down with all the families individually. I don't mean as like a mob crowd, sit them all down. One at a time and explain the pros and cons. Somebody made a decision without consulting the families. Okay? Someone did. Steve Goncalves said it's Bill Thompson. Like I said, I don't want to be Bill Thompson today because they pissed at him. They're really pissed at him. I just really wish somebody would have sat down with all the families individually, mano a mano, and explained again the pros and cons. These are the pros of going to trial. Everything's going to be aired in open court. It's probably going to be televised. But with a jury, you never know. A jury might say, yeah, we just don't have it in our heart to kill the old fella. We hear he's autistic. You know, anything can happen with a jury of your peers. You know, and explain these are the pros. You'll never have to see his damn face ever again. There will be no appeals. There will be no parole hearings for you to go to for the next 30 years. Death penalty cases never stop. They never stop. Because they have appeal after appeal after appeal after appeal. And they're going to have to go I don't know in Idaho. Here, I think it's like every 7 years. I don't know in Idaho. And they have to show up and they have to confront the piece of shit again and convince the parole board that no, he needs to still die. That's it. I just think if they had leveled with the families, there wouldn't be such a backlash. And backlash it is. Look at this. For one, take a look at Beigefield's face. Woo! News Nation, girl. Not a good day for Ashley. She is not in a good mood. Because let me tell you what, News Nation, we know how the media works. they were planning on a good 4 or 5 months of content on this bitch. Let me tell you, they were. And to hear poof, it's over, they not liking it.
Steve Gonzalez. He is the father of Kaylee Gonzalez. His attorney is Shannon Gray, who has stood by him steadfast from the beginning. Steve, you know, I don't know what to say. You're the first person I thought of when I heard this news today. I reached out to you right away, first to tell you how sorry I was, because I know how this is landing, at least I think I do. But I wanted you to have your say. I wanted you to be able to say out loud for everyone to hear what this means to you and your family.
This is anything but justice. This is the opposite of our will. There was no majority believing that this was acceptable. I want to honor all the police officers, the FBI, and all the people that work their tail off. The failure is at the court level.
And there it is. He said the majority, which I'm assuming is his family, Maddie's family, and Xana's family. Because remember, at one point, Ethan's family said they just want his memory to be honored. They started the tulip farm, and they said they probably wouldn't even go to trial. And that is their right to not want to sit there day after day, week after week, month after month, minute after minute, and hear what their son went through. I can't say that I blame him. So when he says it's the majority that says this is not justice, they're not happy.
100%. But the men in the boots on the ground and the women that were out there working, I want to honor everything that they did for our children. 100%. The fault is in leadership and the people that you place this evidence upon. They were weak. They decided to play God and decide what this man's decision should be, and not a jury, not a peers, not his peers. They, you know, so that's where we are today.
Walk me through what happened. Brian Enton, you know, did some really great reporting at the top of this show here, but tell me from your perspective how the last 3 days have played out.
I would say ever since Hitler's demanded an independent investigation, they couldn't get away from this case fast enough. They've done everything to make this case go away. So I don't know what that entails, but he said he was going to have an independent investigator, and all of a sudden we seemed like we were on rails to get rid of this case and make a plea deal. I mean, he's guilty. We all know he's guilty. There's more than enough evidence, but
is it the money on the state side? Because he said, I felt like we were on rails. They were going to get this, you know, special investigator. What's going on, Chrissy? Chrissy said, don't come in here and tell Brooks how to talk about anything. If you don't like it, there's other channels. What's going on? Let me go. What happened? Just saying, please don't bash News Nation. It's not a good look to bash others. You used to clip and spoke poorly of her. Stop. Honey, I've met her in person. Calm down, just saying. I'm just saying. Have a damn sense of humor. God, get a Snickers, why don't you?
it's tough. It's tough to put a community through this, and it could be bad for reputations and business identities, and there's fallout.
Hey, just saying, you want to hear a funny story? We call Ashley Banfield, we call her Beigefield, because she's always wearing beige. Well, True Crime Beat, who has zero filter between her brain and her mouth, walks right up to Ashley Banfield and goes, hey, on my friend's channel, Crime Lines and Lies, we call you Beigefield. Well, there's old Marty going, you're right. She always does wear beige. Okay. It's kind of an inside joke. Calm down. Calm down. If you stick around, you might get used to us. Come in hot like that. Shit.
It's tough. It's tough to put a community through this, and it could be bad for reputations and business identities, and there's fallout. But this isn't the will of the victims. This is just one person making a decision, and it doesn't reflect what we were asking for.
Steve, did anybody ever call you from the prosecutor's office to just personally discuss this with you? Did anybody offer to meet with you in person to go over this potential plan?
We have meetings all the time on, particularly a lot of times on Friday. No. We had this regular meeting that we have to try basically do an update of what's going on, where things are at, because Idaho is actually an amazing state where it really does care about people. We just get one or two, people who just don't care about the victims and don't care about justice. And it's easy to take the weight out. It's easy to make an excuse and say, I'm doing this for the victims, even though I've never interviewed the victims. I've never really talked to them to find out what their true feelings are. So here we are. We're stuck, and we can't get out of it. I ask your audience if anybody knows Judge Hippler, reach out to him and ask him to put his foot down and not accept this offer. It doesn't reflect anything in Idaho. This is not justice. We had an outsider come to our community, kill our kids in their sleep while they're getting a college education, doing everything that they should do, and we don't have the courage to hold him accountable. No plea deal. Let's go for this guy. 100%. Let's do it.
He wants the death penalty. Okay. Our friend Dallas, 420, said they updated their Facebook page an hour ago, the Goncalves family. All right, let me try to get through this. It's the first time I've read it. This is their statement. The death penalty is merely an illusion in the criminal justice system. When available, it serves as a bargaining tool for the state, and when rarely applied, it's never enforced due to highly inefficient appellate process. I guess that's how it works in Idaho. They seem to really celebrate that shit in Oklahoma. They look forward to it, okay? They all pile around the penitentiary. We call it Big Mac and McAllister. They love that shit. Says the notion that someone can plead guilty to a crime and still face years of appellate delays reveals a systematic failure. I'm confused about this because I thought part of the plea agreement was no appeals. Maybe I misread that. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office treatment of our family during this process is something I wouldn't wish on anyone. We questioned decisions early in the investigation. Why was the mayor commenting on the case? Yeah, I remember the mayor saying it was a crime of passion. Why was the coroner speaking to families? That was weird. The coroner was on, I hate to say the name, News Nation. If Just Saying is still here, Just Saying. I don't mean to offend you about your favorite station, but the coroner was on News Nation, and I thought that was very odd. Why was an officer with less than 2 years' experience leading the investigation? Why was the University of Idaho involved when they declared it an isolated off-campus incident? Why was the university permitted to write a book about the incident while others were silenced under an overly broad gag order? Not to mention the university tore down the house when the family said, don't do it. It goes on to say, as a result, we were branded adversaries. So it was no shock how the county prosecutor's office mishandled the plea deal. They vaguely mentioned a possible plea on Friday and presented the plea on Sunday. Latah County should be ashamed of its prosecutor's office. 4 wonderful young people lost their lives, yet the victims' families were treated as opponents from the outset. We weren't even called about the plea. We received an email with a letter attached. Wow, that's cold. That's ice cold, okay? That's ice cold right there. A freaking email. You can't even pick up the phone. Holy hell. Goes on to say that's how Latah County Prosecutor's Office treats murder victims' families. Adding insult to injury, they're rushing the plea, giving families just 1 day to coordinate and appear at the courthouse for a plea on July 2nd. Who do they think they are? After more than 2 years, this is how it concludes, with a secretive deal and a hurried effort to close the case without any input from the victims' families on the plea details. Our family is frustrated right now, and we will subside, and we will come together as always and deal with the reality that we face moving forward. Once again, we thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers. Wow. Damn. They are mad. Thank you, Dallas, for telling me about that.
Education, doing everything that they should do, and we don't have the courage to hold him accountable. No plea deal. Let's go for this guy. 100%. Let's do it. And that's how this family stands.
Steve, I know that, you know, it's no secret your daughter Kaylee was so close with Maddie Mogen, best of friends. And I know that you got to know the Mogen family as well. Have you spoken with the Mogen family, and do you know what their reaction is to this plea decision?
We actually just had a meeting with the prosecution and just tore into it and made it clear that we were not in support of this, but we also invited other families into that, and I'll let them speak on their own that were part of that meeting, but we are in no way alone on this. Multiple families believe the same as we do, but I want to honor their abilities to speak independently and as their child. So I don't want to cross that line, but all I will say is there was no majority for this decision at all. And if they're not working for us, they're working against us, guys. I mean, we have to wake up to this. I mean, we have to hold people accountable. Coeur d'Alene just had a shooting where we attacked our firemen.
Just saying's back. Just saying, why don't you grab the link and come on up? She said, your comments are exactly why you will never be a channel that's respected like the interview room. I'm not a former detective. Duty Ron, again, I'm not a former detective. News Nation, I'm not a journalist. I was polite about it. I have unsubscribed to other channels for the same. I'm sorry I offended you. I'm telling you, we're not that bad. I'm going to speak for myself because some in here are that bad. Like Chrissy, she can be a real B. I'm not that bad. All right? Calm down. Just calm down. Again, the link is pinned. Promise, it's okay. It's going to be a good day. All right? It's going to be okay.
And if they're not working for us, they're working against us, guys. I mean, we have to wake up to this. I mean, we have to hold people accountable. Coeur d'Alene just had a shooting where we attacked our firemen. People need to stand up to these monsters and stop freaking bowing down to them and giving them childcare. I mean, prison is nothing but adult childcare. You get free vision, you get free dental, you get free meals, you get AC, room and board, cable TV, internet access. It's ridiculous what we give our prisoners. Better than what we treat our vets. Our vets coming back from war with missing limbs. This is unacceptable.
Shannon Gray, I'm going to ask you to step in as well. Judge Hippler, you know, Steve just mentioned Judge Hippler in this case. I have to ask you as a matter of law, would Judge Hippler have been fully integrated into this deal plan? Meaning, this is not a surprise to Judge Hippler. Is he going to have to weigh this and then rule from the bench as to whether he'll accept it or not? Or is it a fait accompli by the time they get this far down the road that the judge will accept it?
Well, I think a few weeks ago, Judge Hippler, talked about had there been an offer at all on this case. I think he mentioned it in the courtroom, and maybe that sparked something with the defense and the prosecution. I'm not sure. That being said, with a plea like this, it's with the life sentences and it's agreed upon by the state and the defense. There's small modifications sometimes that they can make to the sentencing regarding, restitution, some other things like that. But if the state presents sufficient facts to the judge or a plea of guilty to the counts, normally judges will accept that, and they'll let the defense know if they're not going to accept that ahead of time. So I would suspect that the plea will go through on Wednesday, and then they'll set over sentencing for a few weeks, and so the victims can be present to read victims' impact statements, etc. So,
Steve, I covered a case where the defendant was so overwhelmingly guilty according to the evidence, and it was a death penalty case in Arizona, and that jury voted guilty, and they did not vote for death penalty. So that defendant, Jodi Arias, sits in a prison in Arizona as we speak.
She's got a really good point. Just because you have death on the table, it also depends on the state, okay? Some states are like all fire and brimstone, and they're like, yeah, hang them high. Some are like, no, just put him in jail and throw away the key. You know what I mean? D. Evans said, I allegedly believe coroner Kathy Mabbitt didn't do a good job accessing the house and surrounding area of the house. It seems like it was a lackluster job when collecting all DNA. I was wondering about that yesterday when I heard this break. Could the prosecution not have had their world rocked by Ann Taylor saying, I'm gonna point out everything wrong with this investigation? I have got enough reasonable doubt to where they said, let him plead guilty. That's something I wondered. That's not anything they're going to advertise and let us know, but I'm telling you right now, hand to God, all of those spills on Dateline did not make their job any easier. Doesn't matter for me because I'm not going to be on the jury. I don't live in Idaho. I don't live in that county, nowhere near it. They know this is the biggest case they have in Idaho next to goofball, zombie, Lori Vallow. Somebody, it's going to be hard to find a jury. That could be another problem they were having.
Voted guilty, and they did not vote for death penalty. So that defendant, Jodi Arias, sits in a prison in Arizona as we speak, and she had multiple access to appeals. I wonder if there's any solace at all in knowing that this can't happen to him at this point. There can be no appeal. There can be not one squeak from Brian Kohberger after he accepts that sentence at the end of this month, unlike what happened in Arizona, where there is always a chance the jury does not choose death. Is there any solace in the fact that you will at least have him silenced and there will be no appeals?
Absolutely zero. None. Could be no farther than how we believe. I want my community support. I want that jury to make the decision, not Thompson, not some old man who's 70 freaking years old deciding how my daughter's life weighs in a courtroom. That is not justice. That is not justice at all.
Woo! Woo! Throwing out the ageism. Some old man that's 70 years old isn't going to decide what my daughter's life is worth. Listen to it again.
Not Thompson. Not some old man who's 70 freaking years old deciding how my daughter's life weighs in a courtroom. That is not justice. That is not justice at all. I'll take my juries, I'll take my peers all day long. I'm sick of one man.
I wish they would have explained, like Nancy Grace has said, like her haters, she's right. Victims' families, you got to act like you're taking them to dinner and hold their hand from soup to nuts. That's what you have to do. 100%. That's what you have to do. They should have explained that all the rights are with Brian. It is all bass-ackward. Victims don't have any rights. They don't. It's him defending his life. So if he says, I'm going to plead guilty, they can't really stop him. And I get what Steve is saying. I get what he's saying. I would take a jury of my peers any day. He wants to see the dude die. That's what he wants. I want to see the dude. I want the death penalty. Juries are not normally, I'm not even going to say that. That's a very rude thing to say. And I don't want just saying coming in and chewing my ass about something else. They can be scary. They can be scary.
Juries, I'll take my peers all day long. I'm sick of one man deciding or one woman deciding what a life's worth. So that's how I stand on that.
I fully understand how you feel. And none of us can understand what you're going through. None of us is walking in your shoes. And I'm just glad to give you this platform to be able to say these things publicly. And I'm also glad that you got the support of Shannon Gray, who's just been a rock for you. Thank you to the both of you. Steve, please give Christy and your kids our love. We will still be here. We'll be here Wednesday. We'll be here at the end of the month. And we'll be here for you after that as well.
Well, thank you. And you've always been a hard worker. And that's why we've always tried to partner with people who put that extra effort. But we couldn't pick the prosecution. We inherited them. But everywhere we go, we partner with people like you who are relentless and tireless, and they just chase down the truth. And I really appreciate that's what you brought to our case. And when people reach out to me, I'll tell them that this is a network that you can partner with and understand that they'll be there to the very end.
God bless you, Steve. I think we just lost Shannon, but I'm sending you my my deepest love and wishes for some peace in all of this, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
USA Libertarian said, what if he went to trial and gets off on a technicality? I'm so glad you brought that up. I was thinking that yesterday. I think I piggybacked off of Dee's comment when I thought about it yesterday with all the mishaps from the coroner. Maybe old Ann Taylor put her salt down and said, you understand we have many technicalities that could possibly get this thrown out? We're already in this millions of dollars, and we haven't even got to a trial, which by the looks of it could wind up being way more expensive than goofy ass Lori Vallow. I just really wish somebody would have sat down with the families and explained the pros and the cons. Pros and cons. These are the pros of letting him have an appeal. It sounds like he's getting off easy, but he's going to be serving 4 consecutive life sentences. He's never going anywhere. These are the cons of going to trial. the defense could throw out some kind of technicality and gets everything thrown out. We haven't even gotten to mitigation yet. We've gone through tons of discovery and they've already had a bunch of things thrown out. This is what we're left with. Juries are unpredictable. All right, here we go. Even more to say. Well, I'll tell you what, Banfield was not having a good day yesterday. I think she's more stunned than the rest of us.
With this breaking news on the plea deal for Brian Kohberger in the Idaho quadruple murder case, 2.5 years in and just 30 days, basically, till jury selection. My colleague Brian Enton, who broke this story, is back with me live, as is Mark Garagos, who is one of the best attorneys in the business and has been through his share of high-profile cases. Brian, I want to start with you real quickly because you've got some reporting for me about what the prosecutors outlined to the families as their rationale for why this deal should go forward.
Yeah, I want to go through this list with you, Ashley, and kind of explain these different bullet points that they gave to the families about why they were supporting this plea deal. So they started with every trial, there's always risks. As we conveyed, we feel very confident about the strength of the state's case. However, this does not eliminate all risks associated with trial. They talked about a mistrial.
Mistrial, hung jury, technicalities. They haven't even picked a jury yet. There could be jurors that say, this is too much for me. I can't do it. And they have to stop the trial and get their alternates. There's a lot of things that happen in these trials. Look at True Crime Beat in Boston. They're like, ooh, he's got glasses. All right, so this is the deal. They're dropping the firing squad. That's what they use in Idaho. He has to agree to spend life in prison with no possibility of parole, meaning there will be no appellate court. None, 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 none. Court hearing for a change of plea on Wednesday. Does anybody know what time that is tomorrow? And I think it would have been a slam dunk for the prosecution. I don't think it would have been too tough to convict him. I really don't. I really want to know who leaked that information to Dateline.
Hung jury, and the fact that this could result in the families having to go through the process again. They also said a month-long jury trial will impose an emotional, mental, financial, and physical toll on the families, friends, roommates of the victims without any certainty of an outcome. There would be some measure of finality if the defendant admits he was guilty of the murders. There is only one realistic way to get this type of closure, and that is through his entry of a guilty plea. So basically they were saying if the trial moved forward and he was pleading not guilty, they would have never gotten the satisfaction of a guilty plea. And this was interesting. They said that sadly, as many have experienced, there are individuals out there who believe in conspiracy theories about this case, believe the defendant to be innocent or support the defendant in some way. We know the sentiments of support of defendants have been unbearable. We can only hope that at least some of these people will turn their attention to other matters if the defendant takes responsibility and admits to his heinous crimes by pleading guilty. And the last two reasons they gave, or the last reason they gave, the state believes the death penalty is warranted in this case. We've never wavered in that. However, they talked about how people can remain on death row for 30 or 40 years, which has happened in Idaho. There would be appeals, and that this would just drag on and on for the families. Ashley?
Mark Garagos, Brian Enton just listed out some very strong reasons for why a plea deal is a great idea. If you're Steve Gonsalves, the state had this guy. They had him dead to rights. They had overwhelming bad facts that, I mean, I don't know that Ann Taylor could have climbed that Everest with every tool in the toolbox. Why a plea deal for a case that looked this rock solid?
You know, it shows you how jaded I suppose I am. I didn't understand why they took the plea deal, the defense. I don't get it. This is somebody, that was my.
Mark Garagos is going to say that because he's a defense attorney. He doesn't like to plead out because, well, let's face it, he makes a lot more money going to trial. Okay? I mean, hell, back in the early 90s, I think he got $1 million from Scott Peterson's family. Don't even know what Michael Jackson paid his ass. So, yeah, of course. I think he seems to forget that Ann Taylor is a public defender. It doesn't mean that she's doing it for free. It just means she's not exactly making top billing dollars. Our girl Sophia, member for 13 months, said, "This is not justice. I cried for the families." I don't think anyone's crying louder than Steve and Christy Goncalves right now because they are furious. Furious. And if there's all this reasonable doubt and there's no evidence, then why didn't Ann just say, "No, we're going to go to trial"? There's a lot to look at here. This is not simple. Truth Nation Uncensored said, "Relax, lady." Who, me or Ann Taylor? Because I guarantee she's not relaxed. Woo. No. And she's had a private practice for a long time. It's just, since it's death penalty case, they just had to grab her name out of the hopper. That's no secret.
Defense. I don't get it. This is somebody, that was my first reaction. I know that may not be a popular reaction, but what's the advantage of him taking a plea deal to life without and no chance of appeal when it's a circumstantial case? Number one. Number two, the reasons the prosecutor gave here are compelling. I don't know. I've never had a trial where both the victims and the accused families hasn't said, "How do you do this for a living? How do you go through a trial like this?" Trials are not easy. Trials are some of the most stressful, unbelievably nerve-wracking things you could ever go through. And the idea of having a defendant get up, plead guilty, accept responsibility, say, "I'm not going to appeal," waive my right to appeal, and all he gets is he's not going to sit on death row for 30 years or until such time as the death penalty may be eliminated, as it is in many states. I get the raw emotion. I get that, and I understand nobody. Nobody's going to second guess anybody who's had the unthinkable happen to them. So I understand that.
Yeah.
At the same time, please, why go through this just to have a jury say the same thing and then have to listen? Let me tell you what would end up happening. You get to a guilty verdict in that phase. You then get to a penalty phase, and you have to listen to mitigation evidence. If you were the victim at that point, and that's a legal conclusion, the victim, because somebody's been found guilty, you don't want to hear a litany of mitigation evidence about somebody who has been found guilty of killing your loved one. I can't think of anything worse. I don't want to hear about all the good things or all the problems or this or that. I just want the person gone. And I think there is some closure with somebody standing up and taking responsibility. And I think that with some hindsight and I remember, Ashley, you tell me, when we first talked about this, some of the victims' families were on your show saying that they were not supportive of the death penalty. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you for watching.
Now that is, Ethan's family. They would just rather lock him away and throw away the key, and they just want to focus on beautiful memories of their son. That's how they phrased it. And I don't know about Idaho, but in Oklahoma, you cannot profit from your crime. You can't. So I just can't see anything being written into a plea agreement that says, oh yeah, when we do this 8-part documentary on Netflix, you're going to have beefaroni and Diet Pepsi coming out your ears, Boudreaux. Don't worry about it. You're going to have all the meat sticks and art sets you can think of. I have a feeling that part of the plea agreement, though, has to do with his protection. Well, one thing that we haven't really talked about in this, I'm going to bring up our old friend Jules' True Crime Reactions. I bet she is heated today, is the DoorDash driver. To me, if the DoorDash driver can positively identify Brian, bushy, something more than dress like a ninja with bushy eyebrows, positively identify him, which is going to be tough since it was nighttime, then this would be different. Or maybe old Bill wants to retire. Old Bill Thompson. Maybe he's got a boat waiting for him somewhere and just thought, you know what? We'll just get this pled down. I've been doing this for almost 3 years with this fool. Don't want to hear Ann Taylor's voice on my phone ever again. I'll take it off the table. I will make a suggestion to the Department of Corrections to keep his lily white ass protected. Okay? Holes and all, if you know what I mean. To get this done. But it's going to be 4 consecutive, not concurrent.
What are you going to do with this information? Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer, everything stated in this video is...
I'm going to try to call her ass real quick. I'm sure she's at work, but I want to see if she wants to come up. Hang on, that's a message from my son. Let's see. How do I have it in here? J-U-L. Jules of all trades. Let's see if her ass answers. All right, I'll get back to it.
Is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, Christy Nevada, you guys know that she has been just going ham on some footage, okay, getting body cam footage of all kinds of things when it comes to 1122 King Road, when it comes to the DoorDash driver, all kinds of things. Now, I'm going to direct you directly to her channel because there are so many pieces of new footage for you guys to go and just spend all of your time on. But the one that I wanted to go ahead and put a spotlight on so that I could direct more traffic over to her videos, because that's the source. She's the one who deserves all the credit for doing all of this because she's been filing and uploading like a damn mad woman, okay? But this is extremely interesting because in this video, we not only see the DoorDash driver.
Our girl Jules is about to stroke out, man. About to stroke out. Good morning, Zach Walker. Margaret Johnston said the DoorDash driver said she saw him. It was on YouTube. I heard that. I heard that. You would think that positive identification would be enough to say, swoosh, slam dunk, let's go. Especially along with everything else. Thank you, Sophia Petrillo, $5. Thank you for the super sticker, $5 to make me holler. Woo, woo. The victims weren't protected. Why should he be? Gen Pop BK or Hunger Games on pay-per-view. Take him to Smoking Guns in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let those boys tune him up. See how far he makes it there, his little incel ass.
Driver in Moscow getting pulled over in a late time frame by Brett Payne, of all people, Brett Payne. But on the body cam, she says something really specific, and I don't see how this can be public knowledge on a recorded media and she still be allowed to testify in this case or any case that Bill Thompson is a part of. Okay, let me go ahead and play this.
Be with Idaho 1 Lincoln Edward 2980 6th and line. Good evening.
Hi, yeah, my headlight's out. I'm actually trying to earn money to go.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Yep, no big deal. I'm Corporal Payne. That's why I stopped you guys. Yep. All right, where are you guys headed this evening?
Good. Just in the middle of a dash, so I just want to.
Okay, gotcha. You got your registration proof of insurance as well? The reason we issue these citations is obviously if you hit somebody and you don't have insurance, that person's out a lot of money, right? So we take it pretty serious, all right? So
I need to get it straightened out.
Yeah.
I've got money in the past. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to get that.
Okay, alrighty. Sounds good.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I feel bad for the DoorDash driver. I do. I feel bad for the DoorDash driver. Her DUIs and everything like that, I feel bad for her. Hell, all she's doing is out peddling some damn food and she comes across a damn serial killer. We talk about this in every case. You have the crime, and there's this whole web of people that are affected by one loser. Okay? You have the DoorDash driver. Hell, you have the guys at the food truck. Remember back in the day, earlier in the case, everybody who was ever around these kids were guilty. Boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, frat friends. Nobody thought outside the box. My dumbass said, well, it could be a girl. It could be someone who is just super jealous of the girls, wanted Ethan for herself. I don't know. You have the DoorDash driver. You have the people at the bar. And of course, you have the victims' families.
Gotcha. You got your registration proof of insurance as well? The reason we issue these citations is obviously if you hit somebody and you don't have insurance, that person's out a lot of money, right? So
Okay, this is true about DoorDash. It is true. When you become a DoorDash driver, you have to show proof of insurance. It doesn't mean the people at DoorDash are going to check from month to month to make sure your policy is still A-okay. No. My thing is, you need.
we take it pretty serious, all right? So,
I need to get it straightened out.
Yeah.
I've got money in the past. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to get that.
Okay, alrighty. Sounds good.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
A couple of years ago, my husband and I were pulling out of the Quick Trip over at 71st and Lewis in that area in Tulsa. Doesn't matter. Anyway, people are always getting hit at the Quick Trip. It is so common they keep police reports. OJ behind the counter. Man, this woman ran right into the back of the car. Right into the back of the car. Of course, we did, what we're supposed to do. Nobody's hurt. She wasn't hurt. And I tell you what, she was driving a clunker. Okay? You know what I'm talking about. That's normally how it happens. A clunker. I felt bad for her. I really did. And I just said, what's your insurance company? She didn't have any insurance. She stood right there in the parking lot and renewed her insurance and tried to file a claim. Well, insurance company, they're smarter than that because they knew we were at the Quick Trip. I didn't really care what she did. I really didn't. Well, they pulled the cameras and they're like, now hold on, you got this insurance at 7:13 p.m., but you rammed into their ass at 6:45. It was awesome. Only in America. And also only at Crime Lines and Lies when it rains. Thank you, Angel Pete. Woo! No insurance for the DoorDash driver.
Sounds good.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Okay. Alrighty. Sounds good.
I'm friends with Bill Thompson. Okay, Billy boy, what are you going to do with this information? Are you going to sit there and put your little BFF on the stand so that she can say whatever you've directed her to say? Because that's what this feels like. This is just so strange that there is so much footage of this woman getting pulled over by the police, getting arrested, different areas, both Washington and Idaho. And now we have her on body cam, not just any body cam either. The man who has been given the narrative to lie when it comes to the IGG. Okay, the lead of this case has on his own body cam this woman claiming, I'm friends with Bill Thompson. I'm sorry. I just don't understand at this point with something so blatantly, disgustingly ridiculous and in our faces. We're still seeing this happening as planned. How is this not, again, a huge conflict of interest? How is this allowed? Is he going to be the one to stand up in court and ask her questions? Or because he knows her, he's going to pass it off to Jennings or one of the other idiots over there? I just found this absolutely ridiculous, and I wanted to show you guys so that I can send y'all over there to not only watch this video, but all of the rest of them. Again, Christy Nevada has been going insane, just filing all of the FOIAs and putting it all out there. So go and show her channel some much deserved attention and love. But I want to know what you guys are thinking about this down in the comments. How can she just say this on a recorded platform for the world to now see and still be considered a witness in this case? I don't comprehendo. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this, though, down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to
Yes, absolutely. Subscribe, everything like that. In small towns, everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody. And it's a damn joke. You get pulled over in my hometown and you're like, hey, I know this person, this person, this person. They're like, don't we all? They don't give a shit. They love to give tickets out in small towns. They love it. So that video alone, since the DoorDash driver says she can identify Bushy, that might have been enough to get her disqualified as a witness. There's a lot going on here, but what's really troubling to me is that the families are so upset. I'm telling you, if they had just sat down one-on-one with each individual family, read the room, and explained the pros, the cons, the weaknesses in the case, the strengths in the case, I just don't think that they would be so angry today. I think they kind of feel like they've had the rug pulled out from under them. Now, it's up to you guys. You know, you all run the show here. I don't. You know it. You know it. Do you want to tomorrow listen to the change of plea to see if Bushy is going to give a full confession and if the families are going to be able to confront him? Put a 1 if you want to go through this tomorrow, and put a 2 if you're like, yeah, no, all right, true crime beats right there. Yes, we got true crime beats. Like, she's all over it. Look at that. Yes. I didn't even get to finish the sentence. Look at that, preschool granny. Yes. Yes. Pat K said, yep, Angel, his son was just walking. Okay, never mind. One. Yes, sure. Okay, one. All right, we're on it. Jovi, girl, where you been? I missed you. For all of you in the bushes, do you want to go through this tomorrow? I know we got some people in the bushes. Come say hi. Come say hi. Come say hi. Oh, 2 Boston moms. She even had to put the F in there. If yeah, we're doing it. Better believe it. Well, you guys are the absolute best. Absolute best. Thank you for being here and keeping these children's name out. Actually, any case we talked about, you guys are just the absolute best because you're kind, you're considerate. Now, this doesn't go for Chrissy. Chrissy is not part of this. You're kind, you're considerate, you're open-minded, and we just want the truth, correct? We just want the truth. Mod Squad, you are the best, and all of you are too. Welcome, new members. You're going to love it here. And I will see you tomorrow when we see what the hell he's going to say. You guys are the best. Love you.